Welcome into another no-nonsense forecast. We're looking right now at the Saturday evening conditions across the country with moisture in the west, as well as a slightly wintry clipper in front in the Great Lakes and into the northeast. We've seen some heavy rainfall, some mountain snowfall into parts of California. We even saw some big waves. I'll break down what's ahead with that clipper, though, and how the upcoming pattern will be affected by the southern and the polar jet streams and how they can interact. We will also discuss the potential for a snowstorm down the line closer to, say, the January 8th timeframe, like I talked about in my last video, but we're going to do it without all the hype and all the extra information and yelling that we get on other channels. So let's go ahead and get right into this with the future radar. Zooming on in the Great Lakes region this evening here on your Saturday evening. This is December 30th, heading into our New Year's Eve early morning. We're going to see snowfall pushing out of parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin where we had a winter weather advisory. No alerts further southeast from that as of now, but we could see some heavier lake effect snow, maybe some gusty winds coming to parts of southwest Michigan, northern Indiana out of this later on in the lifespan. But this is, say, 2, 3 a.m. Central Time on your Sunday morning here, your New Year's Eve morning. We've got snowfall, some of it more moderate at times into parts of eastern Wisconsin, but as this moves over Lake Michigan, we'll see some bands erupt of some snowfall, maybe in Ohio, but especially here into parts of Michigan. This is where some heavier snowfall will be falling out of these bands as they make their way on through. This is a little bit of a little clipper system as pushing on through this region. Into the afternoon hours, we see this low pressure system continue to kind of swirl around. We'll see some rain mixing in with the snow just northwest of Detroit. That low will be centered over parts of northern Louisiana, bringing some scattered rain and snow over parts of Michigan, parts of Ohio, western PA, as well as western New York. We'll see how much snow we can get in the way of some scattered snow showers as well into parts of Illinois and Missouri. It does look like some cooler air and some breezier conditions, 30-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts at times blowing in from the north behind this line. As we make our way into that, that critical time frame, right, in the New York City region, and for that ball drop here as we make our way in that December 31st into the new year, right around the midnight 1 a.m. time frame, we could have a little bit of light to moderate rain in parts of New York City with some snowfall just north of town. So we'll keep an eye on some of that precipitation moving on through whatever it is. It looks to be pretty light as the system pretty much dissipates, leaving only some of that northerly flow as well as some snowfall into the new year, so into our Monday morning here over parts of Ohio, parts of western PA, as well as parts of West Virginia, sinking on down into Appalachia, where some accumulation will be possible. This is a little bit of a colder system for us here, of course, moving through the cold air that was left by that upper level low that had caused the Christmas blizzard. This is why a lot of the snow that does fall will stick, but the problem is we're not going to get a lot of snowfall out of this. So most spots, southeastern Wisconsin, maybe an inch or two in some spots, parts of southwest Michigan, northern Indiana, we could pick up some totals and upwards of an inch or two. Most other spots only picking up a dusting to an inch, and the same goes for parts of western New York, northern PA, only parts of the West Virginia mountains, as well as far southwestern parts of PA, not really including the Pittsburgh area. Getting around 3 to 5 inches of some snowfall, and that will be kind of where the system maxes out, right there in Appalachia. Now here we go. Let's take a look at what's going to happen with future radar and precip from the Euro model. We're going to see what we've got going on in the week ahead, and it's pretty much high pressure as we make our way into the new year here. So this is Monday afternoon. What's left of that clipper really only lingering around into parts of southeastern West Virginia as high pressure takes hold of the central United States. As that happens, we're pretty much dry over the entirety of the country, excluding maybe a few showers in southern Louisiana. Our first real system of the week, though, looks like it'll be developing here as we make our way into Wednesday. Some rainfall pushing on through parts of the Gulf Coast corridor there into southeastern Texas, heading on over to the panhandle of Florida. We'll also have some rain and mountain snow impacting parts of California at that time. These are pretty much the two southern jet riders that we're going to be having for the midweek time frame. The rest of that rainfall pushing through parts of Florida, South Georgia, Wednesday night going into our Thursday. We've got the polar jet stream bringing a little clipper up there into parts of the lakes as again here, so a very similar setup to what we were just seeing here. Problem is we've got two jet streams, but they're not connected, so we're not seeing the phasing of those jet streams. Two disconnected lows, one bringing rain, one bringing that light snow into parts of the interior northeast. Once again, we pretty much see another bust in the way of snowfall potential, and as we make our way towards the end of the week, we've got high pressure developing over the Ohio Valley. Point here being it's looking like it'll take until at least the upcoming weekend for any sort of really decent snowfall potential to erupt over the country. Nonetheless, we do begin to see maybe a little bit of some snow work into parts of the panhandle of Texas, panhandle of Oklahoma, southwestern Kansas, as we make our way into our Friday afternoon with some rainfall and maybe some embedded showers and storms, some of which could be on the at least stronger side, and those will push on eastward on the southeastern end of that system. Notice how this turns all over to rain by the time we make our way to our Sunday the 7th. with the European model, and then that pushes offshore. What we'll really have to watch down the line, and we'll talk about the pattern change in a minute, is the potential for snow and a pattern change in the central U.S. as you make our way towards, say, January 8th. But look at this interesting setup with the or the GFS model, I should say, with this late week storm. This is the same one I just showed you that it turned over to pretty much all rain once it gets past the parts of the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma with the Euro. This shows some snow making it into the mid-Atlantic, even places like New York City, Jersey, as well as parts of Philadelphia. All these areas getting in on some snow with the GFS. That looks unlikely for now, but we'll monitor that forecast for at least slightly increased snowstorm chances by then. For now, though, looking at the rainfall that we've got through Friday, this is our January 5th. Rainfall looking to be the heaviest along the Gulf Coast corridor there from Texas to the Panhandle of Florida. 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rain in those zones. Pretty much everywhere else excluding the West Coast, staying on the overall drier side with very little precipitation. In the way of snowfall by the Friday time frame, notice some moving through parts of the west into parts of the panhandle of Texas as that new system starts. Also some clippers in the Great Lakes in the northeast, amounting to some snowfall. Now the North Atlantic Oscillation and the Arctic Oscillation patterns are in a negative phase, which will allow for colder blasts, okay? We've had a lot of hype about the polar vortex. We've had a lot of misinformation about the polar vortex and what sudden stratospheric warming is doing. Essentially, there's a lot of warmer air entering parts of Canada. We're going to see cooler air at the surface forced on down into the United States, and it does look like that is going to happen, but it's going to take a little time, and it might not be necessarily as extreme as some people are making it out to be. Taking a look first at your big picture temperature anomalies and how this is going to kind of set the stage for a bigger system as we head towards the 8th of January. High pressure ridging continuing, typical El Nino right through this week over parts of the north central, maybe some clippers bringing some cooler air to the south and east. Look at this, though. We can make it all the way to, say, the 6th, the 7th here of January, and we've still got some reds into parts of the northern United States, but we do have some deeper blues knocking on the door into parts of the Pacific Northwest, as well as parts of southwestern Canada. Look at how those push on down into parts of the mountain west. We'll see this with warmer than average air even into now parts of the southeast ahead of this. I mean, this does look like this could be the setup for a pretty big cold front here over the central U.S. Again, January 7th through the 10th, but especially the 8th and 9th, I think, is when this system is really going to begin to intensify if it can get itself together. There is increase in confidence, but no guarantees that a system like this occurs. But what it does look like it could do is bring in overall cooler than average air into play. So let's take a look here at what's going on with your chance of precipitation in 6-hour increments with your GEFS model, which is the Global Ensemble Forecasting System. Bunches of models combined together to give you precipitation chances. Skipping ahead here again, that low with the GFS model may be bringing that snowfall to the mid-Atlantic as early as the 6th or the 7th with that weird system this weekend. Overall, though, high pressure into parts of the plains, and again, don't get your hopes up with that snowstorm into places like New York City. But again, this is the system that I really want to talk about, going the 8th into the 9th, so this is Monday the 8th into Tuesday the 9th of January. We see that precipitation chances increase over the north central, as well as over the Arklatex. We could see some severe thunderstorms maybe on the southern end of the system if it can really tighten up, which it does look like it could in the way of the strength. And look at how it continues moving east. It's a very big system here, and this could be bringing some very heavy rain, flooding concerns, gusty winds. And it could be the first system to really do that in a little while by this point, as we're entering, again, a kind of active but overall not dangerous pattern of weather until this point. This is when you could really see severe and even winter storm chances ramp back up. Speaking of the winter storm chance, look at this. This is as we head towards January 9th, towards the 10th, snowfall over parts of Nebraska, Kansas exiting and making its way on up into Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin. There's already kind of a 50-50 shot with some of these models showing at least an inch of snow falling out of this system in that area. Then that pushes into the Great Lakes as well as the Northeast. So we'll have to see the way this system shapes up. Again, the confidence is increasing in that overall system down the line. We don't really know where the snowfall would be, but it does look like it would move out of the northern plains into the Great Lakes and probably somewhere in the Northeast being impacted. How far south, though, is impacted by the snowfall out of that to be determined. But behind this system, still got kind of a dip in the jet stream as we head towards the end of that week, which is Friday the 12th, towards our Saturday the 13th even. Could we get a little bit of snow to wrap around the system into other areas as well? Yes, we maybe could. But again, this is just looking far ahead, and we don't want to make any big assumptions about this right now. So your summary, clippers and southern jet riding systems are going to dominate the pattern through January 4th to the 5th. My confidence in this is very high. Light snowfall accumulations into parts of the Great Lakes interior northeast. Some heavier rain along the immediate Gulf Coast zones, especially early, and then it will be a little active in the west as well. A storm system could bring a more interesting setup as we head towards January 5th through 7th with some rain and snow for zones. Remember, the Euro pretty much not gung-ho on that. Snow in the mid-Atlantic as well as parts of New York City with the GFS model. So the confidence in a system being there is high as we head to that time frame. The confidence in actual snowfall accumulating in a winter storm manner is pretty low. And then watching for the potential blast of colder air on the tail end of a very strong system somewhere around that January 7th through 12th. Is this when the polar vortex could come down? Maybe so. So the confidence in the system and the northern end snowfall with this one is on the medium side, which is why we need to watch this system closely, considering I already have my eyes on that one right now. Hopefully this didn't have too much hype in it. Please hit that subscribe button for accurate and easy to understand forecasting. And that's it for this video. Have a great one, everyone.